I do. I don't like when it goes from 80 degrees to 30 degrees in less than 48 hours.
Yeah. I just saw a meme, it was a week in Texas, and it had like Monday, someone was wearing just short sleeve shirt, shorts, shoes. Tuesday, they're in like a full on parka.
Yep.
And like they're ready to go climb Mount Everest. Wednesday, tank top, swim shorts.
Basically.
And it's just like, golly.
I don't like that it does that.
And I have these I have different levels of flannel, okay? So what you're seeing me wearing right now,
that's your like winter
this
flannel.
It's more fleecy, and so it does a great job keeping you warm.
Uh-huh.
The thing I keep running into is in the mornings, it will be like 45. So of course I'm going to wear this, and I feel so good. Then by the time noon hits, it's 70 degrees. And guess how I feel? I'm like just sweating. And because I'm like, well, so I have to be very strategic in what I wear. It's like getting the right golf clubs when you're playing golf and all that. So.
No, that's legit.
Yeah.
I mean, all the golf I play, I know
you
that
don't just go with one club.
Obviously.
You got to have all the different ones for the
Yes.
right moments. And
That's
so
right.
I have my fleece for all that. So, or my flannel for all that.
I am
So,
excited to be wearing my sweaters. I'll say that.
yeah. And your Christmas earrings. and
Yes,
everything.
all my Christmas earrings.
Nice. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Next Day podcast.
The next day on your discipleship journey.
I'm Chad.
I'm Christy.
And we're going to be talking about the weather. For people who aren't in Texas who are listening or anything like that, it's just, it's just all over the place. It's rare to have a cold December. Most of the time, you could just wear shorts and a short sleeve shirt and it's fine. Anyways, but we're going to be talking about the sermons you got to hear yesterday. Maybe you got to hear Christy in the Element. You got to hear Preston in the traditional service or Carl at the West Campus. You can listen to those on our YouTube channels, or you can listen to here on the podcast. And yeah, I will say, everyone, be patient with us. I'm going to share this frustration with you. Be patient with us that for whatever, if you're trying to listen to us on YouTube, it is there, but for some reason, YouTube's platform randomly selects certain videos to go to private. That means you can't view it and you can't search it or anything. It's random. Sometimes it won't do that. All our videos stay public. You can search for it. You can find it. But then other times, it just randomly switches to private. And when I've gone to YouTube support, gone to them for help on this, they just say, well, why don't you just, and I'm going to try to tell you, this is exactly what happened through a chat. I said, hey, the videos keep getting set to private. And they say, okay, are you able to change it to public? I'm like, yes, I am. Okay, then do that. But it's already set to public, but then it randomly changes it to private. And they go, okay, well, just change it back. I'm like, but that's not the problem. Why is it?
A glitch.
I'm like, why is it happening in the first place? And they're just like,
glitch.
well, you should just change. I'm like, I have, and all my settings are set to public. Why is this happening? We don't know.
Oh.
Then change, like,
This section, on Spotify, it breaks up the podcast into like chapters.
Oh yeah, this is
each episode. This is Chad vents about YouTube.
No, and then they say, oh, this must be Spotify. No, it's not Spotify because it's on YouTube. This is YouTube's problem. Anyway, so if you're listening on YouTube, hopefully you're listening to this and it didn't get set to private. Anyways, but we have people who listen to it on YouTube, so Anyways, we're in the Advent season. It's time for joy.
It is. That was the candle we lit this week, Chad.
It's a time for joy, everybody, and we're so joyful here.
Joy,
and
joy,
so
joy,
we're
joy.
going to get to our icebreaker, as it is very cold, but our icebreaker. I'm going to be pulling out this one that maybe it's one that we talked about in previous years, because, there's only so many Christmas icebreakers, I guess. I don't know. But everyone really loves to hear what favorite movies there are. So this could be movies, or it could be just anything that you want to feel Christmassy. What are some things that you watch or have on the TV to be Christmassy during this time of year? And if you just want to think of a couple of things, it doesn't have to be just one thing.
We do always watch, for sure, Home Alone. I feel like that's one of my kids' favorites. I do realize...
It trains them on what to do when if they were to be accidentally left at home, they know exactly what to do.
I just know that is the opposite of what to do.
How old was he in that? What was he?
11 or...
Was he
like
11? Oh, okay, let's say 11. I feel like he's younger. Could your kids do what he did?
No, I hope
Do
not.
they have the forethought to plan and to engineer and to do all that?
I think having watched Home Alone, they would think that they had
they would think.
the ability, and that's a terrifying thought.
I remember watching that and going, he made that mac and cheese all by himself?
Well, I don't know. The whole going to the store and buying, I could see my kids doing that.
You could? I'd be like, I don't know what to do.
No, defending against bad guys, no, I don't know about that. But that's terrible. I would be like, no, you need to call the police. Just say, I got left at home alone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Throw me under the bus. Don't try to play it cool.
So Home Alone, that's a true one for me. That or Home Alone 2. I'm good with either one.
We always, we usually watch Elf. That I feel like we don't watch the classic Christmas movies in my household.
Okay. Watch more. I mean, I don't
they're
know. Home Alone, I would say, is
that's classic
now.
For us. Yeah. But we don't watch the older.
Hey,
classics.
the '90s is a long time ago. It's a long time ago. But so not like It's a Wonderful Life, which I won't go on my rant for that or anything. So, but so those are yours. I know for us, we always have a time where we watch Christmas Vacation, which I'm kind of a later in life. It's only in recent years that's become a regular part of because I didn't grow up with it. I knew about it, just didn't really grow up with it. But it's in recent years, I'm like, okay, anytime it's on, I'm like, okay, I'm watching it. And obviously Christmas Story. But in terms of non-movie stuff, I know we always like to have different kind of Yule logs on the TV and different, because there's all sorts of different random ones. And there's a K-pop Demon Hunter Yule log.
Oh my gosh.
You know that?
No.
It's pretty much just the, what's the demon world you just see,
that guy.
he's just kind of glowing, and that's just kind of the.
I don't like that.
I know, that one's kind of not too pleasant, because those are souls being dropped in there. But then something else that we might make it more is especially if they keep making new episodes, is we watched Is It Cake Holiday Edition. And so that's been really fun. And I'm like, you know what? This is very nice. And it kind of makes you think all the many things that are just Christmassy. And these people make cakes, but you can't really tell they're cakes. And they have to kind of decide if it's, is it cake? So
I love it.
But that's a good one. So, but plenty of good holiday specials out there. So hopefully y'all are watching it, cozying up on a fire. Maybe your holiday special is listening to the Next Day podcast and hearing us.
There you go.
I think last year, I have to go look for it. That's where we went on some long, I think we talked for 30 minutes about
movies.
Movies or Christmas songs or something. Like we were
trying to recreate it.
Yeah, we just talked a long time on that. And I think people were like, hurry up and get to the sermon. What was the podcast we came up with? Shut Up, Chad and Christy Won't Shut Up.
Yeah, Chad and Christy Won't Shut Up. Yeah.
That was last week. Yeah. All right, so let's get to our sermon then. So we are on week 3 of Advent, talking about joy. I don't know if the candles line up particular with the sermons necessarily.
I don't think so.
They are like always good reminders of during the Advent season. But because what we've been reading about Joseph, especially this week and last week, is kind of these really you kind of imagine how he's feeling and just how difficult this must have been for him. So yeah, we've been looking at Joseph, Daddy Joseph is what we're calling him, Daddy Joseph.
No, we are not.
And just kind of what we can know about him, because in the sermon series, what you see in Scripture, there's not a lot said about him, but from what we can read about him, it can reveal a lot about his character, about who he is, the decisions he made, everything like that. So this is almost like Advent. Lesson 2 and 3 are kind of like parts 1 and 2. It's like they kind of connect with each other because they share same scripture in a way.
Yeah.
So last week we stopped at he decided to leave Mary.
Right.
Quietly.
We just left it hanging. It was straight up a cliffhanger.
And so that's just kind of the end. And we just looked at those two verses and just, well, this does say a lot about him. We talked about Joseph being merciful in what he was doing, even though it still seems like, well, was that really the right move? But, it was a very messy thing. And then we talked about living in the mess. So then this week, we looked at more, we continued those verses past verse 2. And we got Jesus was visited by the angel through a dream, right?
Yeah.
And then that's when he was told, hey, we know your situation. Don't worry about it.
Heaven is aware.
Yeah. Hey, we know.
We caused this.
And you know what? We know what your decision was, that you're planning to leave her quietly. Maybe don't do that. Don't do that. But here's what you're going to do. You're going to stay with her, and you're going to have this baby, and you're going to name him Emmanuel.
Jesus.
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 And so you're going to name him that, and then Joseph is just like, okay.
Okay.
And so before we see what Joseph was going to do on his own, and there's some commendable things with that, but now we're seeing Joseph is being instructed from God on what he should do, and now we're going to see some commendable things on how he's going to obey what God says.
Yeah.
And so I got to hear yours, and I heard Carl's, and so what about yours that you want to share about? From your sermon about Daddy Joseph.
First of all, it's not Daddy Joseph.
Do
not call him that.
I'll give you $1 if at your next sermon you say, all right, let's talk about Daddy Joseph, everybody.
I will not.
Is that worth $1? Is that worth
It's not worth $1. No. Might cost me my job, actually. So.
Yeah.
No, the story, we expanded on the verses from last week. We're like you said, left it in the middle of the mess. He's going to leave her quietly.
He's not going to make a big public thing and
right.
shame her.
She's not going to be stoned to death. That's good,
or at least
right?
He's not going to call for it. Yeah.
Right. So that's
the thing. Carl and he kind of made note, life is still going to be very difficult for Mary, even with this decision of Joseph.
Right.
Because it's not easy for any widows. It's not easy for single women, especially now she's going to have a baby and no husband.
Right.
So it's still not going to be easy. But
growing up without a father,
yeah.
would be hard.
Yeah.
in this day and age, and in the first century Israel.
But Joseph, he's just not going to try to make matters worse by calling her out in front of everybody. So yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, still really hard. That would have been a big deal for Mary. And, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, God could work through this, even if, in Joseph's free will, chooses to say no to to God after this dream. I believe God can work through that. There would be a way made so that, it wasn't like the Messiah was born in vain or anything. Yeah. But we expounded on this. We went past verse 19 all the way to verse 25. So it basically is, Joseph falls asleep after it says, he resolved to do this, right? Just as he resolved to do this, he was visited in a dream by an angel of the Lord, right? Mm-hmm. And in that dream, he's told, I know you're afraid to take Mary as your wife, but don't be afraid. Do this anyway. She truly is carrying the Messiah, and you will Mary, and
Mary.
have this child and name him Jesus because he is the one who will save the people from their sins. And, just as it says in the prophecy of Isaiah, that he would be called Emmanuel, because it means God is with us. And that's what Jesus represents, right? That's who Jesus is God with us. So he wakes up from the dream and he officially marries Mary, and Jesus is born. He names him Jesus, right?
Yeah.
So it ends, like, we wrap up the Christmas story right there in Luke. Like, that's the end of it. It's like, okay, Jesus is born, and that's it. And then Matthew moves on to the visit of the Magi.
Yeah.
The We Three Kings, right?
We Three Kings.
Musical interlude.
Of Orient. Okay.
Wow, that was very slow and haunting.
I know.
I don't think it was
I already
that
told you,
spooky.
there's that one verse where he's like, sealed in the cold, dark tomb. Oh,
it's the bass for
wonder.
me.
Okay.
Anyway,
because that happens like later, like. So he's born, and then what we believe and what we read into with the Magi, it could have happened a couple of years later.
Oh,
like
it was,
he's
yeah.
like 2-3 years old or
Right.
something like. So it didn't happen immediately, which
Right.
I know. So those of y'all with nativity scenes,
we don't, yeah.
and the
like,
wise men are there. You're like, is this wrong? No, it's not
feels
wrong.
like there's a lot of missing information, where you're like, we just have to kind of, again, you read between the lines and you put the pieces together and you have to look at the context and, it was certainly this, time has passed at that point. So, like, the point of this is that, like, next week we're going to be jumping over to Luke's gospel because there's more that happens. Like, we know the story that they go to Bethlehem and all of that. That's only represented in Luke's gospel.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Matthew doesn't talk about that part, but we know that it happens, right?
Yeah. So it's probably surprising when people read, they're like, okay, I'm actually going to read this. And they read, like, so let's say they read the
Chapter
Matthew
1,
one. They're like, that's it?
Yeah. Wait, where did we get the whole inn and all of that
Where's the
stuff from?
shepherds?
Yeah.
Where are the shepherds? What? Oh, you got to read this
Right.
one. Oh,
Right.
It's kind of like the other part of the story.
Yeah, but there's a star. The star is in this one. You
Yeah.
know, the star is in chapter 2. Bethlehem Star.
Star.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so so this is at the end of chapter 1. It wraps up that story, but like there's a lot of really important information here about like Joseph's perspective, Joseph's side of the story, and that's what we're focusing on in this Advent series. So like I think I really, really got stuck on this, this verse. I guess it's verse 20, right? So it's right after he says he's just going to leave Mary, dismiss her, divorce her quietly, whichever your translation says. And then it says, but just as he resolved to do this, or like just as he had like made up his mind about like this is the path going forward.
To leave her quietly, right?
Right.
Yeah.
An angel appeared to him in the dream. So he has like, I kind of talked about it in my sermon, but, joked a little bit lightly about Joseph. He was so comfortable with this decision. It was not keeping him up at night.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love that you said that he was able to sleep. It's kind of like, like I've been stressed over way less things, and it keeps me up at night.
Right. I mean, and who knows like what time he was able to, because I'm an insomniac a lot of the time where I cannot fall asleep. Or if I wake up in the middle of the night, I cannot go back to sleep.
Maybe he had a nice warm glass of milk and he just went to bed.
I'm sure he did. So he was able to sleep at night. This was not, he was that at peace with his decision of like, this is what needs to happen. And then the angel of the Lord appeared. And so it's like, I think for him, he probably had a lot of insecurity about like moving forward with this. Like, and I think a little bit, in his mind, it's like, even if this is true, like and we assume that he has heard that Mary is pregnant by the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Matthew tells us that in advance. We assume that Joseph has heard the story that way and not that like she's just pregnant with some other man's child, right? So he's heard that story. Whether or not he believes it, we don't know. It seems maybe that he might not, but it's even if he does, if I were putting myself in Joseph's headspace, he's like, but that's her calling, not mine, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's Mary's calling. God called Mary to, God hasn't said anything to me,
Yeah.
right? Up and, to this point. So, like, I'm not called to this.
I'm not going to try to just barge on into this. Like,
right. And then, like, also,
this is her thing.
It would be complicated for Mary to not have a husband, to have a child who doesn't have a father, all of that would be really complicated. Joseph marrying Mary anyway sort of puts, a scarlet letter of sorts on their relationship forever, on him, right? Like, he has this child from, an illicit affair or something. Like, that's what people would think. They're not going around saying, like, this is the Messiah, like, as far as I know. It's not like, no, it's God. God got Mary pregnant. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, how do you explain?
We don't have that part of the story, so I don't know how they, like, if people just in the town accept, like, okay, this is their, this is Joseph's stepson or whatever. We don't know how that kind of continues on, but there would be, like, some reputation implications for Joseph that he, has a child that's not his, while he had been engaged to Mary. So, there's probably a little, there is fear there. There's some like insecurity, and also just like trusting Mary, on this story, or trusting God on this story. Like, there's a lot of questions there. So the angel, like, speaks right to that. Mm-hmm. Also, Matthew is really particular about the way that the angel addresses Joseph, right? That it's like he's son of David.
And yeah, like, his dad's name. Jesus's grandfather is not named David.
Is named Jacob, actually.
Jacob. That's not a popular.
Yeah, I know, a different Jacob, yeah. Different Jacob, but right. So it's like
Wait, Jacob, Joseph. Wait,
yeah,
really?
I know. Yeah,
wait,
really.
No,
truly.
that happens again.
It does. Yeah, Jacob, the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary. Yep, it's at the end. It's at the end of the genealogy. So
what the heck?
Verse 16. Yeah.
But this isn't Jacob Israel. This is Jacob.
Yeah, Jacob, the son of Mathan.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, or Mathan. I don't know how you say that name. Anyways, yeah. So the angel addresses Joseph as son of David, right? And it's not like addressing him the way that his family, or that the people that know Joseph would have addressed him, right? He's Joseph of Nazareth for us, but like, they wouldn't have addressed him in this way. Joseph, son of David.
Yeah.
So it's very particular because David is referring to King David, because Joseph is in the lineage of King David, which is important to that Old Testament prophecy that
from the line of David.
From the line of David, right? Yeah. That God made this promise in 2 Samuel 7. So that really comes into play here. This is where the New Testament and the Old Testament, like, beautifully just come together, and you start to see all of these promises unfold. That, God tells King David, I'm gonna build you a house, a dynasty, a family lineage that, like, will someday the Messiah will come from this line. This, the Messiah that's going to save all the people of their sins, and bridge this whole family together, bring the whole world into the family of God. And so, this is a really important statement, but like, I think, Joseph, being a Jewish man, would probably recognize that. Like, would probably recognize, like, okay, son of David. He would recognize this, like, lineage. He would recognize his purpose in this. We'll talk about this a little bit more this coming week, because they are going to journey to Bethlehem in Luke's gospel, and it's because of Joseph's lineage being within the Davidic line that he has to return to Bethlehem, because that's where his lineage is from, right? So he has to go there for the census. So we'll talk about that next week. But Spoiler.
They go to Bethlehem. They go to this little town.
Yeah. So the angel is really particular about addressing him this way. Yeah. And
which, again, like I think we shared this last time, Matthew really does, like, is speaking more, it's probably a gospel more for a Jewish audience at the time when it was written. That's why you see a lot of these things. And you may not think, well, what difference does it make? Well, it mattered a lot.
Yes, it matters. It still
matters
matters a lot.
Yeah, it still does. But people then are like, oh.
Yes, just like shifting that mindset to, from waiting to realizing that the Messiah has come.
Yeah.
That was a really important piece.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so the angel says, do this, still, marry her. And then, if you pay attention to the quotations here, he says, you're going to give him the name Jesus because he's going to save his, all the people from their sins. And then the quotations of the angel, it stops, right? So that was the dream.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the end of it. Matthew goes on to explain why this angel came to Joseph in the first place, why this all was happening, why Mary was pregnant by the Holy Spirit, because like we haven't heard Luke's side of the story. Like all we've heard is that Mary's pregnant by the Holy Spirit. We didn't hear that the angel came to visit her. Like we didn't get any of that in Matthew's gospel.
Right.
So Matthew's kind of like pulling the pieces together and saying, okay, all of this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. And he's talking about Isaiah, and then quotes Isaiah 7:14 and says like, this is where Isaiah says that his name will be Emmanuel. And then, Matthew, if it depends on which translation, like I'm looking right now at an NIV, and it puts it in parentheses, which means God with us.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it just, you
it
have
just
to
says
just
Emmanuel.
Sometimes you just have to pay. Usually, it does say God with us.
Yeah.
Matthew goes forward to say, what this means. Surely Joseph would know this. Joseph would have translated to him if he had been reading that. But this is really just for us reading it. This is for that Jewish audience reading this. They would see Emmanuel. They would, oh yeah, okay. God with us. Okay. And sort of just like sometimes when you get the definition again of a word, and you're like, oh, okay. Like I see how this connects now, to the greater story. So it's like, saying Jesus was God with us, he just Matthew unpacks that word. And so then obviously the very end, Joseph wakes up and he does exactly what the angel had told him to do, and Jesus is born. And that's the end of Matthew's version of the story.
End of the story.
But I think the focus for me here is the way that like Joseph, when he woke up from the dream, he still had agency to say like, no.
Yeah, he had a choice to make, right? Like he still had this choice to make, and I love how because in your sermon, Christy, when you talked about how difficult it is for you to make decisions, and let me just tell everybody, all our listeners, how true that is, because there's been several times where it'd be something church related or something, and Christy's like, oh, I just don't know. I'm like, oh, I thought you made a decision. Well, I'm not sure. It's like, dang it. So hearing you're about choices of nail polish or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
Just like,
It is so painful.
Imagine you at a Cheesecake Factory.
Dear God.
And you're just like, oh, there's too much. Oh, which is our sponsor for today.
Cheesecake
Factory. When you want too many options for dinner, come to Cheesecake Factory.
Seriously. I get overwhelmed.
Yeah. But no, he still had this choice because, he made it. He said, this I feel like is the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. Then in this dream, he's being pointed, hey, here's this other option. You should probably do this.
Right.
That's kind of like the Holy Spirit, right? That's the Holy Spirit. Like in all of us, the Holy Spirit is tugging on us to say, hey, go this way.
Right.
Do this.
It's an invitation.
And then we have this choice of, okay, I'm going to listen to this. Or, you know what? No. I'm doing this because this is going to be better for me. Like, no, this is...
Or it's easier.
Yeah, it's easier.
And
not every time you ignore the Holy Spirit, like, it's just like this evil thing inside of it. It's like, but we can choose to ignore it. And it's just like, and for anyone listening, like, it doesn't mean that the answer is easy either. Right? Like... Right. We could follow God, and then it may not seem like is the right one, like because we didn't get our way or something. It's just a hard thing to discern and all that. So that's why we have to be very careful and be in prayer of it and all this. And so that's where Carl in his sermon, he compared Joseph with Joseph.
Right.
Which I enjoyed the similarities.
I
now
got to hear
learning
his.
about Jacob and Jacob.
Yeah, I know.
Jeez,
It's weird.
just
I didn't
add
realize
more
that.
confusion.
Yeah.
So you have little Joseph in the Old Testament and Daddy Joseph in the New Testament.
Oh my gosh.
But the similarities are there in certain things where Joseph in the Old Testament, he had this decision to make because his brothers betrayed him. His brothers beat him up and were going to kill him, but then they sold him into slavery because they were jealous of him. And Joseph later on, when you read through Genesis, he has a choice when his brothers come to the palace in Egypt. Joseph's in a place of power, and he has every single opportunity to enact revenge on them. He did play some tricks on them, and kind of hid his identity and all that, and had fun with them.
We've talked about Joseph pretty extensively.
And so but he ends up choosing mercy. He ends up not trying to be angry and trying to do all this. He ends up choosing this way of mercy instead. And Joseph here, not really, I guess he could have acted out of anger or something, but like he chose mercy. And then he chose even more mercy to stay with Mary after receiving this dream. Mm-hmm. And then they both had dreams. So if your name is Joseph and you have very elaborate dreams, I don't know, maybe
common territory. Yeah.
But then again, I have weird random dreams that I'm pretty sure is not.
Yeah,
like that.
No, it's a really cool comparison between the two, and there's a lot of not a lot, but there is some scholarship that really goes deep. It takes a deep dive into both of those storylines. But it is very. I didn't realize the Jacob and Joseph thing. That's kind of wild.
Kind of blowing my mind there because it's like
I'm gonna have to tell Carl. Did you catch that?
Yeah. What the heck? And Joseph also had other brothers who beat him up, and wait, this is just the same story. What the heck?
He also had a rainbow colored coat, Technicolor dream coat.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was I think the whole thing, like you said, right, is this invitation that is given to Joseph. He has a choice that he can make. He could have said no. He could have woken up and said, I'm taking the easy path. I've already made up my mind. I'm comfortable with this. I'm not doing it. Mm-hmm. And he wakes up and he does exactly what he obeys. He does what God had called him to do. And, I think we read Joseph in the story as almost like robotic. It's just like he just does what he's told. He's just standing by until he's needed and all of that stuff. But he was a human. He was like you and me, who would have had a lot of feelings about all of this.
And I'm sure there was a bit of pride in there and other things like, well, what are other people going to think? I need to do what men do in our society. I need to do this. I'm sure he had some of that going on in his mind. And
sure. There's a lot of comparison, probably going on. And, anyway, so I think it's just it is good for us to step back from that story and put ourselves in it. Yeah. Put ourselves in Joseph's shoes and how he just said yes. Mm-hmm. He said yes to God's call, and he does this multiple other times. He has, 3 other dreams, 4 in total, of moving. Cause them to move from where they are or where they were when King Herod had called for all of the babies or it was a certain age range, that would have been born between the time that Jesus was born to be killed. A horrible, horrific story.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, right. And that is in Matthew's gospel. Yeah. You continue on reading about that. And so they go to Egypt, because the angel, comes and says, go and return, go to Egypt. And then, then they are called again to return back to Nazareth again as well. So, it causes them to move when he's, had these dreams and stuff. It's a lot of obedience. I think that's a word that you would use there.
Trust and obey.
Yeah, like a trust in God. And I think that there's, I come back to that line, Emmanuel, that, Joseph has this physical manifestation in his life that God is with him. After he says yes, after he goes with Mary, after the baby's born, it's like, okay, this is happening, right?
Yeah.
Like Jesus is there. Jesus is that physical manifestation of God with us for Joseph. And I know we don't have the baby Messiah, for us in the same kind of way. But I mean, I guess I would challenge us to, it's like, what is that for you, that reminder that God is with you in this Advent season? And then how does that help guide you in saying yes to God, whatever God's calling you to do, even if it's changing your mind about something?
Yeah.
Not just changing your plans. I mean, maybe that is it, but maybe it's just changing your mind about a way of thinking.
What if it's like there's someone, and we all have these people that it's just people you just cannot stand in the workplace. I mean, they could be someone you have to work with all the time.
Have to record a podcast with.
But like seriously though, like there's probably somebody, maybe it's in your family, maybe it's in your neighborhood, maybe it's someone at your workplace or in school or wherever it is. There's somebody that you've just already written off in your mind, and you're just like, I can't stand that person.
Yeah.
And maybe that is something that maybe it's coming on your heart going, maybe I shouldn't retaliate. Maybe I shouldn't be a jerk to this person. Maybe I shouldn't. And then maybe there's a way you can have peace in that moment. Somehow do something. And maybe that's something that can happen. And it doesn't mean it has to happen immediately or anything. But maybe that, because that's that whole thinking of like the choices that Joseph was making, we can also choose this path to know that God is with us and we need to live this out and not try to go this other route. I'm just going to do this instead.
Right.
Like this one seems more right to me. It's going to be less awkward for me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's somebody like you see, like, I don't know. I know it's a very complicated issue with like, panhandlers and people asking for help. And maybe you see the same person every single day on your drive. And maybe there's just something you can do differently. And I don't know what that is. I'm not telling you have to give them money or anything, but like maybe there's something, I've been seeing this person and it's easy just to ignore them. What else can I do? What's something added? I don't know.
Yeah.
These are just examples, and there's no easy answers, but just being in prayer for, and yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good.
It
reminds me of Home Alone.
Yeah.
The old man neighbor that they wrote off as a scary old guy, and then he saves him in the end. He turns out to be a good guy.
Now, I will say, he did not do anything in that movie to not be scary.
True.
Like, he did not one bit just go, hey, Kevin. Hey, neighbor. Like,
Heidi-ho, neighbor.
When he was at the store and he slams his hand down and he just gives Kevin this evil stare. No, duh. They're scared of you, dude. You're giving them the evil eye.
True. Very true.
Anyway, but he turns out to be nice.
Well, anyway, but yeah, how is it that God is showing up in your life in this Advent season and calling you into something that maybe was unexpected and you didn't plan on, but maybe it's calling you to change your mind about it.
With that, even saying that, now I back up I still stand by that. He didn't do anything, but some people just respond the way they do, and it's how you respond to that.
Right.
How did Kevin respond to, was it Marley?
Yeah, Old Man Marley, that's it.
He ends up talking with him. Like when the opportunity came up, he opened up and talked to him and got to hear his story. So there is a lesson there. So yeah. And the pigeon lady.
And the pigeon lady in Home Alone too.
And the pigeon lady.
It's the best.
He's drawn to people who scare him, and he gets to know them, except for the burglars. He doesn't really want to get to know them.
The burglars are not good.
Yeah. Anyways, which I saw like a strange thing is like, hey, you're now older than Marv.
Oh, I saw that too. I was like,
it's one of those things. Hey, if you were born at this time, you're now older than Marv. It's like, oh no way.
No.
And no matter how old I am, I'm still always going to see them as older people. Like I'm never going to associate my age with them. I'm still Kevin.
Yeah. Always.
Well, but yeah, so we're going to finish up with the series of Daddy Joseph on next week. Next week, as they're going to be, what is it next? Next week is more about...
It's the journey to Bethlehem.
Yeah, we're looking at Luke and their journey to Bethlehem, what that means.
It's your classic story of Luke, but we get to see that through a new perspective. We get to look at it through Joseph's perspective.
Yeah. So that should be good. And then getting to our ministry shout outs, it's just going to be all, I mean, sorry if this all sounds like advertising and stuff, but it really is. We just want to make sure everybody is aware of Christmas Eve stuff or just Advent stuff coming up. Especially this Sunday, there's still worship. So come to any of our worship services to hear about Daddy Joseph, but then also come in, the evening for Courage, and then is that it on Sunday? There's not too much else
this
extra.
Sunday?
Yeah.
Yo, with the Traveler service.
Oh, Traveler. Okay,
yeah.
I was like, wait, what is it?
Like, what is this?
Children's thing was last.
No, Travelers is at 5. Courage is also at 5.
Yeah. So Traveler service, for those who don't know, because this is a new term for me, and apparently other churches do this. Traveler service, basically what that means is if you're traveling on Christmas Eve, you're not going to be in our Katy area. You're not going to be able to attend St. Peter's. There's a service for you to come to at 5 o'clock, right?
Yes.
Yes, at 5 o'clock. And Courage worship is still happening at 5 o'clock if you want to be part of that service as well. But the Traveler service is pretty much a Christmas Eve service, not on Christmas Eve, and it's still this way to kind of celebrate Christmas Eve as a church together, even though you can't be here on that.
Yeah.
But then Christmas Eve, we have all sorts of services happening. It's going to be too complicated to share all the times, I guess, at all the campuses. So just go to stpk.org/Advent. There's some morning services, like morning family worship services at the West Campus. But then there's a whole slew of afternoon.
Well, it's West Campus, 10:30 children's family service, and then a 3 and a 5 o'clock.
3 and a 5 at West for their contemporary service.
That's right. And then our and the Traveler, they're also having a Traveler service on this Sunday as well, and it is the first traditional service.
They're going to have traditional there.
Yes, that West Campus has had. So very exciting. I think the youth choir is coming over to sing.
Nice.
So it'll be a really fun time over there if you are traveling or if you just want to go to 2 services. Why not?
Yeah. And then at Kingsland, 2 o'clock is a Courage Christmas Eve service. 3 o'clock is our family worship, a kind of children's family-friendly service. Because all the other ones aren't family-friendly.
It's like your
it's just
Christmas
more
pageant.
Directed towards, it's very visual impact. Lots of interaction.
And the kids lead. It's really sweet.
Yeah. And then 5 o'clock Element, 5 o'clock traditional, 7 o'clock traditional, and 11 p.m.
That's right. Traditional.
Going into midnight. Which when I was little, our church always had those, and I was just like, but does this throw off Santa? Like, what if Santa comes and we're here at church? I think my parents Santa understands.
Santa comes later.
Yeah.
He knows.
Yeah. So just keep up with all the things like that. And if you're not in the Katy area, you're not a part of St. Peter's, I mean, you could always watch a lot of these things through streaming online. But we also encourage you to get plugged in with a church near you. There's plenty of other churches doing other Christmas Eve things. And so if you're out somewhere, find a place, be in community, celebrate this with them. And then then you can always obviously tune in to the This Day podcast. Those devotionals are still going, and then you can tune into us on the Next Day podcast. Right. And we're getting close to the season of Christmas here soon.
That's right.
So it's going to be even more Christmas things to come.
Christmas-tide.
Yeah. All right. Well, so look forward to joining you all again next week when we get together to finish up this Advent series over Daddy Joseph on the Next Day podcast.
See you next time.